Have you ever noticed something small that completely changed your life? Imagine finding out a heartbreaking truth through something as simple as a pair of glasses. That's how I discovered my wife was cheating on me. I didn't hesitate. I put our house up for sale and filed for divorce without warning. If you want to know how it all unfolded, stay tuned. And don't forget to subscribe. I'm aiming for 1,000 subscribers, and your support would mean a lot. I, a 36-year-old male, have married Joanna, 34, for roughly 6 years. I work in project management for a construction company, so I'm often away from work, usually twice a year for a month or so. Joanna used to tell me she understood that travel was part of my business. For years, I believed we were a robust and trustworthy couple who could have a happy life together. It turns out I was way off. This horror began on my last work trip and came tumbling down due to a video call and the reflection in her glasses. Yes, spectacles. Let me tell you how things went. It was my second week away on this trip, and Joanna and I did our customary video chats every night to stay connected. She'd usually fill me in on the minor details, workplace turmoil, neighborhood gossip, and whatever happened at home. I always liked these calls since they kept us connected even when I was far away. One night when we were on the phone, I noticed something unusual in the background. Out of nowhere, a man I only know by face walks into our home. He walks in through the front door without knocking, with no hesitancy, announcement, or anything. When he realized she was on a video call, he backed up and fled as if he had been caught in the act. Joanna left the couch when she heard the door close and quickly canceled the connection. I promptly contacted her back and inquired what had occurred. She was embarrassed but tried to retain her cool and said, "Oh, that's Rick. You know him, right?" I replied, "Yes, I know him. He's our neighbor. What the hell was he doing here at this hour?" It was almost 10. She shrugged it off, assuming he only needed to borrow something. She waved it off as if it was no big deal, just a friendly guy from next door who walked right in. I questioned her how he became so comfortable that he could walk into our house without knocking as if it were his own. She snapped at me, saying I was making a huge deal about it. He was just a neighbor who happened to be her gym partner, and that's how they became friends. I couldn't understand that this wasn't just a routine neighbor visit. It threw me off, but I let it go for now. I didn't want to overthink while I was far away. 2 days later, she became ill and took time off from work to rest. I had a free day, so I contacted her to kill time. We were on call when the doorbell rang. She hurriedly went to respond. I overheard some muttering in the background. When she returned, she appeared a little strange. Her hair was also open and messed up as if someone had brushed it. Before that, she wore a nice ponytail, which I remember distinctly because I liked how she tied her hair. I know a lot of males who prefer women with open hair, but not me. So whenever she wrapped it in this style, I was head over heels. I asked her, "What's up?" At first, she said nothing and resumed the conversation where we left off. I interrupted her and asked, "Who was at the door?" Her response was, "Oh yeah, the door. There was this group raising money for charity." She then went on to talk about various random topics. I returned to the question, "Which charity group? Did you give them money?" She identified a charity and stated that she donated $100. She fumbled and rolled her open locks, which was rare for her. Her uneasiness was evident in her body language, although she worked hard to maintain a casual demeanor while speaking. But she made a mistake. She was wearing her new glasses, which had large lenses. She looked up straight across the laptop as she spoke with me, and I noticed something in the mirror. I squinted, hoping to make out Rick, and there he was, the same guy. This time he stood directly in front of her, grinning like a smug jerk, tormenting her, pouting, and distracting her with flying kisses. I quickly turned off my video camera, claiming there was a bad connection so she wouldn't see the horror on my face. Then I quickly grabbed my phone and began recording it. I could barely hold my hand steady. I somehow kept my voice calm. You won't believe what occurred next. The guy began undressing himself. I froze, my stomach in knots and my body turned cold, but my face remained neutral. She, too, was quiet. Her whole focus was on the man. I got the confidence to ask her whether everything was fine. She looked at the laptop screen and smiled broadly. "Oh yeah, just a bit of a headache. I think I need to lie down soon." She looked me right in the eyes via that computer and lay straight to my face as her partner stood naked in front of her, acting as if he owned the room. I could not take it any longer. I ended the call. I wished I could rush home to confront them. In desperation, I caught a cab to the airport, hoping to book the first ticket home, only to realize that by the time I arrived, he would have finished whatever he was doing with my wife, and my wish to catch him in the act was irrational. Then something inside me snapped, and I wanted to exact nuclear retaliation. I exited the cab midway and returned to the hotel thinking about my next step. That woman was cheating on me in my own home, which I bought before we even met. I created this life for us, and she treated it as her own, as if she could do whatever she wanted behind my back. I knew I could have addressed her right away. Still, after that transparent lie and casual demeanor, I wanted her to feel the same shock and betrayal I did. I wanted her to understand that everything she took for granted could vanish. I devised a plan, and am gradually carrying it out. So after the video call episode, I was astonished for the next 2 days. Not proud of it, I ignored all her calls and texts and simply replied that I was busy. My manager contacted me 2 days later to see whether I was well after missing some critical meetings and briefings. I broke down and told him everything. We've worked together for years and developed that kind of rapport. He asked whether I wanted to take a break or go home and sort things out. I requested a transfer without thinking twice because I did not want to return to that city. He asked me to sleep on the decision. I returned to it, but it led to my nuclear revenge plot. As I previously stated, I work for a construction firm, and one of its divisions is responsible for property sales. I had previously purchased the house through them, taking advantage of employee discounts early in my career. I had a home before I began dating Joanna. I thought I would be able to sell it without her knowing. So, the next day, I called my manager and informed him I wanted to sell the property. He linked me with the appropriate staff, and because my home information was already in the system, it was simple to begin the process. Meanwhile, I asked my boss to help me with my transfer. It was a difficult decision, but I was sure I wanted this. I wanted to leave everything behind, not just the house. I also engaged an attorney. It took me a week to acquire a 1-hour appointment, highlighting the high demand for divorce lawyers in our nation. They are hired by people who can't control their impulses. Anyway, I explained my argument and presented the proof. Unfortunately, there isn't much that can be done other than divorce. I may also have to pay alimony because we reside in a no-fault state. Isn't that quite pathetic? I understand, but I will do anything to eliminate that dishonest wife. I seldom spoke with her during the latter 2 weeks of my stay. She periodically video called me and I responded but remained basically mute. She'd ask if everything was well and I'd grin and answer, "Yes, just busy with work." The transfer and house sale were completed in 2 weeks, and I also needed to move my belongings, so I had to leave at the end of my 1-month stay. I returned home as scheduled and attempted to remain calm, which was tricky. I informed her that I must leave for another trip next week. She pretended to be sad, but I knew she was probably excited about having her gym partner over. I reserved a motel near my workplace until I relocated to the new city. I spent the week at home, slowly relocating my essential belongings to storage without her knowledge. She wanted to initiate intimacy the first night I was in the house. Still, I declined, saying I was exhausted from traveling. She became agitated and accused me of being impolite. I'm unsure if she was acting or upset, but I could care less. I just dozed off, claiming I was too sleepy. The following night, she waited for me to make the first move. You know, once you deny a woman's approaches, she usually doesn't attempt again for a few days. For the remainder of my visit, I played the role of the oblivious husband. I even cooked dinner and pretended everything was excellent so I could witness her reaction while plotting the final surprise. But every time I looked at her, all I could think of was her making out with him, lying to my face and behaving like I was a fool. Her presence repulsed me. When she left for work, I packed all my essential belongings and gradually moved them to storage. I also asked my lawyer if the video footage I acquired through her glasses reflection would be admissible. He confirmed that it was valid. The night before I was set to depart, she approached me with teary eyes and said she needed to talk about something. It appeared that she intended to confess. My heart sank and I felt taken off guard. I quickly alleviated the situation by stating, "I know I've been distant since I returned, but I promise things will get better soon." She murmured that it was about something else. I comforted her. "Whatever it is, I assure you, it will be resolved soon. But for now, my mind is preoccupied with work-related issues." I did not want her to confess. I wanted to confront her while she was caught off guard. She tried to seduce me and I gave in, knowing that it would be the last time I was near to her. It made my stomach churn, yet the notion of her cheating would periodically cross my thoughts, causing her the anguish she deserved. I persisted till she couldn't take it anymore. I've always been gentle, which made me feel guilty later. I should not have done that. I feel horrible and pitiful, but I can't undo it now. I purposefully departed while she was at work, leaving a note on the kitchen counter stating that I had to leave earlier than planned. She called, but I either declined or routed it to voicemail. All of her texts received a single response from me. I was busy. I checked into a hotel and stayed till my transfer. The house sale went smoothly. I gave up my ownership rights and received the payment after completing the paperwork. My employer handed her an eviction notice and she really lost it. She suspected a mistake and bombarded my phone with calls and texts. One of her texts stated, "Why aren't you responding? Our house was taken away and I received an eviction notice. Where in the hell are you?" I intended to send her the divorce papers alongside the eviction notice. Still, there was a delay because the divorce papers took longer. This was entertaining in its own way. She hurried to a government office to confirm the notice and discovered I had sold the house. Initially, she believed it was an error and engaged a lawyer to fight for it. Then she got another shocker: divorce papers. She swiftly assembled the pieces and comprehended what had happened. Her following message read, "You coward. Didn't you have the guts to break up with me in front of my face?" She accused me of cheating on my business trip and abandoning her for someone else. That's when I shared the video I'd created. Her attitude shifted totally. She began apologizing and pleading, claiming it was a misunderstanding, Rick was just a buddy, and so on. I blocked her after that. I then went to the bank and emptied our joint account, moving everything to my personal account. I had worked hard for that money, and there was no way I would leave it for her. Blocking her phone number did not deter her. She moved to emails, each one more urgent than the previous, pleading for an opportunity to explain herself. She claimed it was a mistake, a moment of weakness, but there was no reason to excuse her actions. Her emails became progressively more hostile. She accused me of being harsh and callous, claiming that I had overreacted by selling the house and stealing the money, and that I was the one ruining her life. The audacity. She thought I had taken away everything we built together when she was the one cheating while I was away. I disregarded everything. She deserved every bit of it. Since I left, I have yet to communicate with her. I know I'll have to confront her soon, and I'm mentally preparing for the court hearing. By the way, I received my transfer a week ago and am currently moving into a new city. I am looking forward to starting over. I hope I am not too old for it. It took this long to conclude the divorce. First, her lawyer and I set up a meeting between us, which was a complete fiasco. It was loaded with her sobs and emotional manipulation. She had a few questions for me, but I only had one. Why? Her classic response was that it meant nothing and was only for fun. That encounter made one clear. She was more concerned about losing the house than with the divorce, and I could not be happier with my decision. Of course, she begged for reconciliation and recommended couples therapy, among other things, but it was all a ruse. The encounter took place in her lawyer's office. After she left the room, I stood at the window and watched her leave the building. She stood outside and I assumed she was waiting for an Uber, but guess who arrived to pick her up? Her affair partner. That picture sent shivers down my spine. She had the guts to contact him to pick her up shortly after begging me for another opportunity. That is not all. After she departed, I went to grab some of my leftovers, and her lover had the guts to approach me and say, "Dude, you're overreacting. Your wife loves you a lot. You're a fool to let her leave." I stared at him, furious, and he continued, "I know she messed up, but look at her. She's so gorgeous. She deserves another opportunity. And look at you. Do you believe you'll be lucky to find such a beauty again?" Before he could continue, I smacked him in the nose. It started bleeding and he wasn't expecting the punch. I cried, "Run if you want your bones intact." It sounds ridiculous now, but I was enraged at the time. He walked away cursing. I'm unsure what he expected from talking to me like that while still sleeping with my wife. Joanna was couch surfing with a friend, but I discovered she had moved in with her affair partner. Her parents initially tried to persuade me out of the divorce. However, when they found their daughter was still having an affair, they cut her off. I last saw them a while ago. During the hearings, some of her friends contacted me, pleading with me to give her another chance, but they eventually gave up. She didn't disguise her affair with her partner. She went beyond the bounds of shamelessness. That guy would follow her to court hearings, not inside the courthouse by hanging out, picking her up, leaving her off, and occasionally waiting at the cafe during breaks. It initially upset me, but in the end, it bolstered my case. My lawyer told me her legal team warned her not to be seen with him in public, but she did not listen. This impacted her alimony situation. The irony was that while she was pleading against the divorce, the magistrate inquired about her ongoing contact with her affair partner. She said she only saw him to make me jealous and get back at me. She imagined seeing her with him would cause me to return to her. It repulsed me much more, and I wanted her out of my life. The proceedings were long and tedious, but I eventually got rid of a cheater. Yes, I spent 9 years of my life, 6 married and 3 dating, but I saved the rest. I'm trying to be positive. What else can I do? It sucks. It has been a few months since then, and I still feel like waking up from a bad dream. I relocated to a new city to start over, but the past still haunts me. I felt disoriented at first, as if I had been stripped of everything I knew, but with each passing day I felt stronger. I know I did the right thing, and looking back I'm relieved I didn't face Joanna directly. The only way I could get closure was to watch her life fall apart unexpectedly. She believed she could have it all, living a second life, lying to my face and expecting me to remain unaware. I gave her the surprise of her life, just as she had given me. I wanted her to experience the same gut punch, astonishment, and betrayal. Life doesn't always give you a fair warning before everything falls apart. Still, I seized control and walked away with my dignity intact. I'm never looking back. The fact that she believed she could just waltz back into my life with an "oops, my bad, let's just forget this," and with her sidekick standing there, speaks volumes about her complete lack of self-awareness. I was not overreacting. I can't believe she had the guts to tell me that. None of her actions suggested that she truly loved me. Here's to a fresh start and never looking back. That's all for today's video. If you loved it and found it helpful, please like it and subscribe to our channel. We often add new content to help you negotiate life's ups and downs, so make sure you switch on notifications so you never miss an update. If you have had a similar experience, please share your tale in the comments below. Thank you for viewing, and we'll see you in our future video.